I want to take you to Jabberwocky. Think about it, and it works really well if we've been drinking and that kind of thing. Carroll, 144 years ago, one night was smoking his heroin pipe. I mean, he was royally baked. This guy, and that really gets a laugh from grade 11s and 12s. They understand baked somehow, but you guys are just going, oh. That mean a damn to you guys.
I understand now.
Thank you. And in that miasma, he came up with Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillick, and the slithy toads did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the bodogobes, and the momraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jube bird, and shun the frummiest bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword, long time the manxome foe he sought, so rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumping back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. He's a beamish boy. O frabjuste, calloo, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillick, and the slithy toads did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the bodogobes, and the momraths outgrabe. To go in the Yukon, and you said, Uncle Hal, you're pretty old, but you're not 110 years old.
He's older than me.
But you'll get it. I'm connected to this story. The shooting of Dan McGrew. A bunch of the boys were whooping it up in the Malamute Saloon. The kid that handles the music box, the piano, was hitting a jag-time tune. Back of the bar, in a solo game, sat dangerous Dan McGrew, and watching his luck was his light of love, the lady that's known as Lou. When out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner, fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave and scarcely the strength of a louse, yet he tilted a poke of gold dust on the bar, and he called for drinks for the house. There was none could place the stranger's face, but we searched ourselves for a clue. But we drank his health, and the last to drink was dangerous Dan McGrew. There are men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold them hard like a spell, and such was he, and he looked to me like a man who'd lived in hell, with a face most hair, and the dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. Then I got to figuring who he was, and wondering what he'd do, and I turned my head, and there watching him was the lady that's known as Lou. His eyes went rubbering round the room, and he seemed in a kind of daze, until that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink. There was no one else on the stool, so the stranger stumbled across the floor and plopped down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt he sat, and I saw him sway. Then he clutched the keys in his talon hands. My God, but that man could play. Have you ever been out in the great alone when the moon is awful clear and the icy mountains seem to hem you in with a silence you most could hear, with only the cry of a timber wolf, and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold, while high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the north lights swept in bars. Then you've a hunch what the music meant. hunger and night and the stars. And hunger not of the belly kind, that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home and all that it means, for a fireside far from the cares that are, for walls and a roof above, and oh, so crowded with cozy joy, and crowned with a woman's love, a woman dearer than all the world, and true as heaven is true. God, how ghastly she looks through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. The music changed, so soft you scarce could hear, but you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear, that someone had stolen the woman you loved, that her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone, and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make it a spread misère, said Dangerous Stan McGrew. The music almost died away, then burst like a pent-up flood, and it seemed to say, repay, repay, and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back an ancient wrong, and it froze like a frozen lash, and the lust awoke to kill, then the music stopped with a crash, and the stranger turned, and his eyes, they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. Then his lips went in a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm, and, boys, says he, you don't know me, and none of you care a damn. But I want to state, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew. Well, then I ducked my head, and the lights went out, and two guns blazed in the dark, and a woman screamed, and the lights came up, and two men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead was Dangerous Stan McGrew, while the man from the creeks lay clutched to the breast of the lady that's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case, and I guess I ought to know. They say that the stranger was crazed on hooch, and I'm not denying it's so. I'm not as wise as the lawyer guys, but Michaela, strictly between us two, the woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou.